rest is important, and they're identical. When I don't,
Even in this bout of recovery, you get to real people, real stories, real recovery. I am Kat, and I'm on the road of recovery.
Hi, I'm Tracy Jones. I have 19 years clean. I just celebrated my clean date on 9/11 of this year. I'm from Ashland, originally from Lucas, so Richland County.
Yeah.
Ashland County is kind of my stomping grounds. That's where I've spent the majority of my life. I have traveled around, but a lot of my life is there. I can remember when I was young, my dad was in the Navy. He's traveled the entire world, and I would always say, "What was your favorite place in the whole world?" And he's like, "Right here." And I thought, how strange. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I get it. Like, this is home, and this is where I want to be, for sure. Love to travel, but I always want to come home.
Yes.
So I'm married to someone in recovery. He and I met at a meeting. Funny story. He has 17, he'll have 18 years in February. So I was about a year and a half ahead of him when we met. We've been married 16 years.
That's beautiful.
So my best friend, like, I can't begin to tell you the fantastic life we have together because of recovery.
Yes.
So
So let's rewind just a
Yes.
few. If you could talk about your childhood, what was life like growing up?
yeah, that no disrespect to my parents, but it was wild as hell. I'm grateful my father is also in recovery. I was 15 when he got clean, and he had 2 years clean when I picked up for the first time. So you'd think that I would have learned the lessons from him. My dad could be very violent. He and my mom fought like cats and dogs. Like, it was bad. At an early age of probably maybe 5 or 6, I can remember getting out of bed and breaking up fights with those two.
Wow.
I was the referee. I was the one that was trying to make sure that nobody died. For whatever reason, I don't know. My dad is just wired this way, but he was definitely abusive towards my mom, but never laid a hand on us kids. There were a couple times where, he was in the grips of his own disease and his own addiction, and I walked in on him trying to commit suicide.
Oh my.
The first time I may have been somewhere between 6 or 8, and he had cut both of his wrists open, and it's just the depths of our despair.
Yes.
He just felt like he had nothing left to give, and he was failing his family, and it was the disease. We got him in the hospital, managed to save him that time. There was a second time, I think I could have been 11 or 12, I think. He was in the garage, and had my dog in there with him. It was a detached garage, and it was another one of those times, Tracy, keep an eye on your dad. Okay. It's my job. It's no big deal. At this point in time, I knew what the job was. So I'm watching out the window, and I'm seeing him out there in that detached garage, and he's messing around with the motorcycles. He starts turning on the motorcycle. He turns on the mower. There's 4 or 5 different small engines in there that he's turning on. And then I notice the door opens up, and he tosses my dog out. Like, he's got him from the belly, and he tosses her out and shuts the door. And at 11 or 12 years old, I think to myself, you bastard. You're not willing to kill my dog, but you're trying to kill my dad. Like, off the couch I come, go running outside, open the door, hit the garage door. As the garage door is going up, he falls and hits the ground. I'm like, Dad, wake up, Dad, wake up. Luckily, I had reasoned through it quickly enough that he was like, what's the problem? I'm like, no problem at all, Dad. He got in trouble again, and I can't remember the exact timeline. It's his story, not mine, but it's hard to tell my story without telling his.
Yes.
Court ordered to go to meetings. The first year he was clean, sat in the back of the room and just got his paper signed and just stayed clean because, he wanted to get the law off his back. wife's mad at him, you know, he's going to lose his family. And then he said something clicked after that first year, and he decided to get a sponsor and start working some steps. And he's never, it was always the alcohol and the drugs. It was always the disease, because he and my mother are still together to this day. 52, 53 years those two have been together. They were high school sweethearts. And he's been clean since 1987. And he has not laid a hand on her since.
Right.
He's never been violent clean. You know, that's the program working in our lives.
Absolutely. So with your if you could walk us through how your substances, how that changed over the years and the impacts that it had on, sounds like your late teens and 20s.
Yeah, I was like a member of the DARE, you know, the whole thing. Like, I just thought that drugs and alcohol were so disgusting. And then I had like this thing for a bad boy, you know. And he did drugs, and I was like, you shouldn't do this. That's wrong. You know, like, I know better than you. And he just posed the question to me, how do you know if you've never done them? Is it his fault that I landed in active addiction? Absolutely not. I have choices.
Yes.
I 100% have choices. And the first time I used, and this is how I know 100% that I have the disease of addiction. The first time I used, I hated it. It was horrible. I was so wasted that I was scared to death because I had never had a buzz before in my life. Wake up the next day, and the first thought that's in my head is, I need to do that again because I think I did it wrong. Something was, maybe I didn't do enough, maybe I did too much, but I need to try it again. And that isn't me, that's that disease speaking to me. And I can identify that moment. And in that moment, I know that I am 100% a drug addict. I suffer from the disease of addiction. And this is not, I'm going to use against my will, because I don't know how, I have no tools to turn that off. And most normal people would be like, how could you have a bad experience and think I need to try it again?
Right. Yes.
That is disease. 100% that's disease thinking, you know, and that was just one thing. And then, you know, then it comes the alcohol, then it comes the experimenting with all the other drugs. And, you know, before I know it, I'm like, every day I'm looking for some kind of a buzz, because I don't want to not have a buzz. I don't want to be sober. I want to do something to enhance however it is I feel, and I don't know why, and I can't stop. And then I know my dad went through all this, and there was one particular drug that took him down. And I know he went to prison for it, and I know he got in all sorts of trouble for it. And as long as I don't do that, I'll be okay. And I told myself that for years.
Absolutely.
Eventually I did that drug. I did them all, you know. And did I have the consequences that some other people had? No, because like I worked in a factory where as long as I showed up for work and I did my job, they didn't care if I was using. Right. My justification was always, my bills are paid. My bills are paid. Like, I gave up custody of my children and they live with my ex-husband, but my bills are paid. I pay child support. You know, I get them once a week and every other weekend. And my poor parents, when I did get my kids, I would pick up my kids and I would just go to their house and lay around and let them watch my kids when it was my turn to take them. You know, I was only getting them 4 or 5 days a month, and I chose to spend those 4 or 5 days at my parents' house. So, you know, once they went to bed, I could go to the bars or run or do whatever and sleep in, hungover, and my mom and dad would care for my children. So I would, you know, my last rock bottom, I was dating a guy at work while I was married, that I partied with, and he partied the way that I partied, and we had lots of the same taste in drugs. And, He was horribly abusive.
Oh,
Horribly abusive. The sex was violent and painful, and even if when I asked him to stop, he would not. And of course, you know, he had the drugs to make me feel better after he hurt me, so I would continue to go back and try to break up with him several times. And he would, you know, I would be shopping for groceries and look down an aisle and find that he had been following me through the grocery store. He would come into work early so he could hide and watch me, and would call to see if I would answer the phone or if I would ignore his calls, and really did a number on me.
yes.
And I would leave him and I'd go back, and I'd leave him and I'd go back. The cycle continued, and then I broke loose from him, and it was shortly after I got clean. He was like, "Are you sure we're done? Are you sure you're finally done with me?" And I'm like, "I'm done." And I would not have been done if I wasn't clean.
Mhm.
I 100% would not have been able to leave that relationship if I was still using drugs, because there was nothing. I couldn't stick up for myself. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like I just kept going back, and the clarity of sobriety was like, if you go back again, he's going to kill you. Like, either I want to live or I want to die. And I needed to decide that. And him being in my life was not living.
Right.
And it was getting off the drugs and separating myself from an abusive relationship. And like, there were so many things spinning in my head. Like, it was just, you know, I had lost my family. My mom and I weren't even speaking, you know, and I can't tell you, man, if I had $1 for every time I said the Serenity Prayer, I wouldn't have to work. And I went back into that same factory with all my friends that I was partying with, and I went back and I continued working. I didn't have money for rehab. I was literally at rock bottom. Like, I was about to get all my utilities shut off. Like, I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. I mean, I had to go to work. 60% of my pay and being in rehab was not going to work. I had cleaned out my 401k. That factory ended up closing. And now what, right?
Right.
In my 30s, I had to reinvent myself. I was able to go back to school. I got my associate's degree, and I kept going. I got my bachelor's in executive management with a finance focus. I had this brilliant idea that I would get my real estate license. Long story short, it was just like I found my calling. I love real estate. The kids were doing great. Devin was off to college. We ended up getting Gabrielle full-time. She decided that Mom and Ryan was where she wanted to live, and then we had to learn how to be full-time parents instead of part-time, because once I had 2 years clean and Ryan and I got married, if I can backtrack just a tiny bit, Ryan and I were married, and I was at a little over 2 years clean. We earned shared custody of my children. So, and I say earned because like I gave that up freely. And I earned the right. It's like it's like I want my kids back. No, we have to earn the right to get our kids back. And I worked really hard at making sure I had a home and I was stable and I had a job, and they were seeing the mom that they would, and I was never late to pick them up for school. I was never late to drop them off. And I made sure that when I said I was going to be there, I was going to be there. And when we finally revisited at 2.5 years clean, and presented the evidence of why I should be able to share custody of these children, my ex's attorney was like, we have nothing to fight here. I can't defend you. You need to let her share custody. The kids want to be with her. Like, there's nothing left to fight about. So we were granted that shared custody. Fast forward, I'm jumping all over the place. But in 2020, my husband, Ryan, lost all of his clients home health care because of COVID. He basically lost his job. And I had been begging him to do real estate with me because none of his friends would use me. And I was really mad about that. And I thought, well, they're his friends. That's his fear. So if I get him licensed, he could probably do 5 or 10 deals a year just with his friends and we could make more money that way. So I was trying to talk him into it. And then COVID hit and he coaches CrossFit too. He couldn't go to the gym. He couldn't work on patients. Like everything that he loved and enjoyed basically got taken from him.
Right.
So I was like, why don't you sell real estate with me? So he got licensed, and through 2020, by the time that they called him back to work, we were just
Rocking and rolling.
yeah. We have a fantastic life that I feel like sometimes I wonder why. Like, how do I deserve this life? Why am I so blessed? And none of it would be possible without, step work and meetings and living clean and sober. None of this would be possible.
This has been incredible. Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to talk about?
I'm trying to think. I think I covered everything. Just a small little tidbit. When I first started coming around, they told us that only 10% of us was going to make it. And I can remember my mentality looking around the room thinking, okay, which one of you 9 people are coming with me? Because I had decided that I was going to make it. Now, 19 years later, I'm hearing 15%. Only 15% of you guys are going to make it. I'm like, we're making a difference. Like 5% in the last 10 years. Like it used to only be 10%. Now they're saying 15% of us. And if we get out there and we let people know that recovery is possible, maybe another 20 years from now, they'll say 20% of us can make it. But we've got to get out there and do it.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason why I'm not scared anymore. Like, yeah, I'm a recovering addict. And you know what? I don't care who knows.